And as we think about Oakland International and Oakland in general, I know that we were able to see a little bit about Munich and their soccer team. That was pretty impressive. And as you think about Oakland, I can say you can think about the Oakland A's. You can even think this morning about Brad Pitt. And so Brad Pitt, I know, might be a good thought for some of us this morning as we think about sports and others. I will share some things with you more specifically about the airport, however, which is commonly and affectionately known in the San Francisco Bay Area as its favorite airport. We are the second largest airport in the San Francisco Bay with about 140 daily flights, strong reputation for reliability, efficiency, and convenience. We have a very strong on-time performance due to our very great weather and excellent aeronautical facilities as well. For the passenger, Oakland is convenient because of its very intuitive layout that is also very quick to access. We also are a very active cargo operation, being the #1 cargo airport in the Bay Area, and also being FedEx's Asia-Pacific gateway. We are in the midst of a very fantastic and vibrant region. The San Francisco Bay Area is comprised of approximately 6 million people, with a number of top-rated universities globally, as well as a number of national laboratories. And as many of you know, we are a global destination for both business and leisure. Tourists and business people that travel through Oakland Airport enjoy very convenient access to the regions of Napa Valley, Sonoma, Yosemite, and the great dining and culture that comes with the San Francisco Bay Area. And indeed, all of that can be accessed through Oakland International, with arriving to downtown San Francisco being approximately 20-minute drive. However, if you drive with me, you can get there in about 10 minutes. And this is a very strong and affluent area as well. There are about 10 Bay Area counties, and about 50% of that population is actually closest in proximity to Oakland International. And this population is also highly affluent with a strong propensity to travel. However, this region is also served by 3 major airports, both San Francisco and San Jose, with San Francisco carrying the majority of the international traffic. The recession, the industry consolidation have all affected especially medium hub airports like San Jose as well as Oakland quite negatively, and creating a very intense competition amongst all airports, but certainly the airports in the San Francisco Bay Area. Now, we recognize that as we look out to the growth in our industry in the year 2035, we're all going to be capacity constrained, and so we're all going to be dealing with other issues beyond the competition that we're dealing with today. But nonetheless, there is good collaboration today, even though there is competition, amongst the 3 Bay Area airports, both within ourselves and the leadership of those airports, as well as by our regional transportation agency, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. We may be one of the few airports in this conference that is also part of the Seaport and that also owns a commercial real estate agency. The Oakland International Airport is part of the Port of Oakland, which is the nation's 5th largest seaport. And together with the other seaports in California of Los Angeles and Long Beach, we carry over 40% of the cargo volume in the United States. And for the Northern California mega region, 99% of that volume is actually going through the Port of Oakland. 20 miles of commercial waterfront extends along the San Francisco Bay Area, very lucrative, and together, as an agency, we power over 73,000 jobs. One of the fundamentals of the Aerotropolis and airport cities is certainly working with, formally, stakeholders to agreed upon partnership outcomes and results. For the Port of Oakland, interestingly enough, we are just beginning to harness the power of these holdings in our operations as one organization. As a matter of fact, our partners at FedEx actually cited in their marketing materials the benefits of the airport and seaport connection at Oakland before we cited it in our own. And as I know that many of you had a wonderful time last night and you might have had a little bit of wine, I think it's appropriate to share that wine is actually one of the most valuable commodities that goes through the Port of Oakland. The port carries the majority of all of the wine exports in the United States of America. So I knew that our strategic alignment plan was going to be successful when I learned that this particular company, Cameron Hughes, which happens to have very good wine, I've enjoyed it myself from on rare occasion, decided to relocate from Napa to be close to the Oakland International Airport. And again, I knew that that wine would bring our strategic plan very well together. I'm sure I can get a cheers to that, yes? Cities like Oakland are even more reliant on its airport to drive the economy. Clearly, Oakland is challenged by high unemployment. We have public safety issues that affect our image, the effects of the economy, the competition from robust surrounding areas that are more known globally for business. Office vacancy across the city is approximately 10 to 15%, depending on the location. But around the airport, the 2 million square feet of office space is actually in the mid-teens relative to vacancy. Much of the space is ready for reinvestment. The roads that are accessing the airport, for the most part, have a number of non-planned mixed uses that could certainly have much higher and valuable uses. The good thing, however, is that these facilities are so aged, they're quite fully depreciated, so that there is actually an opportunity today to revisit it, along with the Aerotropolis mythology that we all now know and understand. To respond to the challenge of growing the airport service and improving the conditions around the airport, I think no project can better reflect the great impact of an airport on its community than the BART-Oakland Airport Connector. This is a project 30 years in the making. Since the 1970s, it was conceived that the airport should be connected to BART, which is the primary, the only Bay Area rail transit system. It's our version of the subways, and it's major connectivity for the entire Bay Area region. In the 70s, it would have likely greatly influenced the land development that surrounded the airport to be something more than what it is today. Nonetheless, the last 10 years have brought together another round of efforts to build the project, particularly as SFO moved forward and became the first Bay Area airport connected to BART. In 2003, there was a very innovative effort which included the first public-private partnership among transit agencies to build BART. However, years of negotiations and effort brought the negotiations right to a time that the economic downturn took hold and the financial markets access to closed, and essentially the project was not able to move forward. Another opportunity presented itself in 2009 with the federal ARA program and the project receiving an injection of $70 million of ARA funds, critical for the $492 million project to build, design, operate, and maintain the system for 25 years. This was different. This time there was record unemployment. The airport had lost 30% of the traffic during the recession and consolidation. There was also a sense of urgency relative to ARA that aligned the community. But these ARA funds also created intense competition and opposition. While the project had always faced challenges, there was a lack of understanding of what it meant to the airport, what the project meant to the region. There was a new debate and a new battle, if you will, for the same money by other agencies who wanted that same $70 million to defray layoffs and fund operating costs of transit agencies instead. Well, this was certainly the perfect time for me to step in as a brand new aviation director, right? Because I was certainly looking forward to that challenge. The project was heavily scrutinized, and ultimately, BART, who is the lead agency, lost the funding due to Title VI civil rights compliance issues with the FTA. The key on this project, though, and why I'm pleased that we're here today and are building it today, even without those funds, is that there was a new sense of conviction by the airport, by the port, by BART, the elected officials, and the construction community for this project. It was finally time to put a project in place that would create 2,500 sorely needed jobs in the community. While I would not support a project just to create jobs, it was finally understood that the timing and the clarity that this project would indeed deliver those important jobs, and that the future competitiveness of the airport was hinged to this project. And again, it's under construction today. And even better, that one success has created and begetted another great opportunity. The connection of the airport to the BART at the Coliseum Stadium has served as an impetus for an international gateway of hotels, retail, entertainment venues, office, and residential, all the components of the Aerotropolis. These are all accessible to multiple modes of transportation, including a significant portion of the site closer to the airport that will have facilities and offices towards biotech, life science, and green tech. The BART project was the first spark that now pushed the city forward to investing $3 million in a site-specific plan, as well as the environmental process to build the project. This is huge for the airport, is huge for the city. 750 acres, 32,000 jobs, creating a destination as well as the business that both feeds and needs a vibrant airport. We have to know the communities outside of our airport. For years, our airport focused on the 2,600 acres of our property, but it doesn't help that we have a great airport if we have the best Wi-Fi and broadband technology. If right outside the airport boundary, literally none of the business has broadband or modern technology infrastructure. Very similarly with public safety. Oakland is engaging with private business in the airport area to look at a business improvement district. For a city that has 1/4 the size of a typical police force, creative ways such as a bid is essential so business and people feel safe and protected. In closing, some of the tactics we've used to leverage the influence of the airport in and around the city. In the case of Allegiant Airlines, we worked hard years ago to bring them to Oakland. We then worked hard for them to expand flights. But as today we celebrate the opening of a base of Allegiant Airlines at the Oakland Airport, it took more than just the airport to make that happen. It took the community that understood the value and is aligned in doing so. At the very beginning of our new mayor's term, we together did a trade mission to China, where she heard directly and early on the caliber of our work, the airport's value proposition, as well as the dynamics and the opportunities of the customers, propelling her to ensure that Oakland is business-friendly with the appropriate incentives and tax structures for growing businesses. Coliseum City is one of her priorities, i.e., as John Cassardo says, she gets it. As we come upon our 85-year his anniversary at the airport, reflect on our start as an airport back in an era of high innovation. We were a number of firsts in the industry, including the first trans-Pacific flights that took place at Oakland. And we look at ourselves really as being 85 years young. We have a future that is contingent on innovation today, and one that is very, very promising. I thank you for your time.